at 7 o'clock p.m. here on May 16th, 2022. City Hall, City Council chambers for the regular meeting of the City Council. Officially call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to conduct the roll call, please.
Birgen.
Here I am.
Drenkow.
Here.
Meyers. Here. Kangas.
Present.
Rathe.
Present.
Schneider.
Here.
And Beaufore is absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, welcome back our guest council member, Sarah Hannah.
Thank you.
Excellent to see you again. Item C is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Moving to Section D, the approval of the agenda. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Birgen. Council discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. The agenda is approved. Item E is the approval of the minutes. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the minutes from April 25th study session and the May 2nd, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Drenkow. Council discussion, if any. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Section F is the public hearing, item number 1. This is the date, time, and place for a public hearing on the fiscal year 2022 budget amendment. Carla, we received any written or oral comments?
We have not, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any comments from anyone that has joined us from the public this evening? Seeing nobody rise to the occasion, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 22-63, approving amending the FY22 budget.
Second.
Motion by Schneider, second by Rathe. Council discussion.
So one thing that was brought up in some of the, well, I was saying the library board meeting was one of the things they talked about was that this is a very special year in that we have 27 pay periods instead of 26.
That's correct.
And that, where does that show up in here as kind of an
So in the
adjustment?
form you see, what you see is a state form, which is what we have to submit. And Jeannie can correct me when I say something wrong, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna. So your 27th payroll is gonna be scattered among all the departments, all the funds, all the employees everywhere. So you're gonna have a little bit in public safety for police and fire, a little bit in public works, health. So it's everywhere throughout there.
Okay.
Bits and pieces, 3, 5, 7,000 all the way through. The total payroll is about 194,000 total. And it is a rare year where 27 hits. In fact, when we looked at it a year ago to budget it, we thought with the way the weeks fell, we were still going to be okay, but it didn't quite turn out like that. So that's what kind of happens every so often. It's not common, but we do run into it. It lines up.
I counted it about every 11 years.
Yeah, so there you go. 11 years from now, make that mistake, we'll have it ready.
Or so.
Right around there. So yeah, that's the one item that's really hard to sustain because it's scattered throughout everything. But otherwise, the amendments, we do them every year. I know there's a lot of discussion. Facebook has court on it. Everybody thinks it's a huge tax increase and all this, and that's just, it's nonsense. None of this has anything to do with taxes. When you set your taxes, that is it. We don't raise them middle of the year. We don't cut them later on. We don't increase them. All the funds that you have seen are items all of you have voted for already. We're just getting the books in order, so to speak. So when you look at a lot of the capital projects, that's almost $5 million of it. Most of that is funding from prior years has been brought forward because of the timing of construction projects themselves. So when we estimate how fast the SRF project's going to go, we have an estimate, but when the reality comes in, we have to make that adjustment so we're not over budget. So that's why the core, what you see, are actual funds that were taxed, borrowed, have been waiting and sitting in our fund balance for the correct year to be placed into, and that's what the amendment at the end of the year does. It cleans up all the things we have from the repairs on the geothermal unit, which we had. We've had HVAC compressors go out. We have vehicles that get hit. Much as we drive carefully, sometimes somebody gets hit. All of those things compound in. At the end of the year, we do one amendment to kind of correct that, and that's what this is. So if you have questions about anything specific, we'll certainly answer them, but everything you see that's been in there has been before the council at one time throughout the year to be approved and voted for.
Anything further?
I thought the email you sent out was very clear, very helpful, and,
You bet.
you know, I think that city finances get audited. We have an audit every year, right? And so.
Much as we like it,
and
every single year they do.
Yeah, we get a good review.
And they focused on the amendments to see where we were when we started, how close were we to what we predicted, what did we amend, was it done in time? That is very scrutinized, the amendments themselves, so. Do you have anything, Gina? Did I miss it?
No, you got it. The only
Okay.
thing that I would add is that if we didn't do this amendment, then you would see a comment in our audit, because some of these things we can't avoid, and we did have to pay for. Some of them were ordered in prior year, and we didn't get them delivered until now just because of supply chain. So if we didn't do this, we would receive a comment in our audit.
All right.
The only thing I would add is maybe, and I think we did this prior years, have a schedule of all the expenses and the revenue, and maybe where it came from. First, it can demonstrate, to the public, so there aren't any questions. But also, maybe there are particular budgeting habits that could be adjusted. I know some of this stuff is going to be unavoidable, but there may be certain trends or patterns that we may or may not pick up on just by having a list of everything that was adjusted, so.
Well, I know we've not provided the detail in the past because it comes through the state form, and that's what we legally have to show. I can certainly get you to the dollar, whatever you'd like to see or might see, but again, all this has come before you at one time or another. We can track down the resolutions and have that as well. It's a lot of work to do it, but the only things that aren't in there is something as simple as fuel. And I think you know why fuel is up this year. There's supply chain issues, as Gina mentioned, and we order equipment. We fully expect to be here in 12 months, and you have a pandemic that caused it to go over 14 months. I don't know how we budget better. We simply have to deal with it, and that's what you're seeing already. So we have tried to get different things taken care of from a supply chain standpoint and look at other alternatives so that we do have it come in the same fiscal year the best we can. But construction projects are always going to be the dominant one because construction doesn't stop June 30th. And that's unfortunately when the books stop. And so we have to make those adjustments. I'd like to start doing 2 amendments. We've kind of discussed that. So you clean up the construction in the fall, which is the bulk of what you see here. And that's what makes it so daunting when you look at $5 million construction projects. Well, it's pretty much 4 projects. But that's the timing of how they work. And we estimate the best we can. But Mother Nature doesn't cooperate. Pandemics don't cooperate. We get in revenue that we didn't count on, from the ARPA funds to the CARES Act, all that stuff that comes in, that's got to be put in amendments and taken care of. So there's so much we don't control. This is kind of where all that falls in the end, is what we can and can't control. This is the bucket it all falls into, and we just try to sort the best we can on the correct fiscal year. The one thing I want to emphasize before everybody goes is these are not additional taxes. We are not doubling the budget. We are not, this is money that's already been taken in at some point in time. We're putting it in the correct year, in the correct form for the correct items that we've done and budgeted for.
There was a chunk of COVID revenue, I believe, in this fiscal too, right? Do you recall that approximate amount?
759,000, I believe, plus the other 200 and some thousand for law enforcement overtime. And those are both accounted for in this as well. When you look into revenue, intergovernmental, that's where that sits.
The other part of this is the fact that we do the budget in February, March. That doesn't start until July and goes through the next June. So you're 15 months ahead that you're trying to, that's that foresight. That's, a lot can happen in that time.
There's items that have happened since we published this budget amendment that we already wish we would have had in this amendment. We're going to find a way to cover them. There's at least 3, from an engine blowing up in a vehicle to accident. It just happens, and we adjust the best we can. But you can't simply predict some of that. I mean, you just can't. If I was that good, I wouldn't be here. Be in the market predicting stocks. But
All right, hearing nothing further, roll call Carla.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
A vote of 6-0 with 1 absent. The amendment resolution 2263 is approved. Item G is presentation of certificate of appreciation. Council recognizes board and commission members who have exited. Shane Blackledge from the Human Equity and Diversity Commission and Rich Dane from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I got a couple certificates. I don't think Rich has joined us this evening, but ask Mr. Blackledge to come forward. Right up front and center. We're not a sideshow here, come on. All right. So I appreciate your time and commitment to the commission. I know that Shane served as our initial chair of that commission, so we can get a picture with your wife here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you again. If you have any parting words, you're more than welcome to share with us briefly if you'd like.
I'm just really glad that I was a part of the task force and forming a team to get together to do the Human Equity and Diversity Commission to make it, and I'm really excited for the things that are brewing up and that are taking place. Obviously, there's a lot of planning that is involved, and we have to wait for the next fiscal year and the year after, so there's a lot of stuff happening, and I'm excited to see those things come to fruition. And I'm really glad that I was a part of having all this happen. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your commitment. So, all right. And you don't have to stay for the whole meeting if you don't want to. Don't blame me if you don't.
We got to get back to celebrating.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Move forward to Section H, public comments for items not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes unless additional time is granted. By the presiding officer, all remarks shall be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual member. Are there any public comments this evening? Seeing nobody rise, we will move forward into the consent calendar, Section I. The following items will be acted upon by voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Item 1 is a pay request from Gridor Construction Incorporated for the WPC Facility Improvements for the amount of $265,127.85. Item 2 is a pay request from Gridor Construction Incorporated for the WPC Facility Improvements for the amount of $149,332.40. Item 3 is a pay request from Cardinal Construction Incorporated for the South Riverside Park and Shelter 2020 for the amount of $6,525. Item 4 is a Class C liquor license for GT Miller Time. And item 5 is a special Class C liquor license for Wartburg College. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of the consent calendar as read by the mayor.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Birgen. Council discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Section J is regular business. Item number 1 is Resolution 22-73, a resolution accepting the project number 5 of the Waverly CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Program is complete and approving the final pay request. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 22-73, accepting the project number 5 of the Waverly CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Program as complete and approving final pay request in the amount of $17,600 to Glidewell Contracting, LLC of Tripola, Iowa.
Second.
Motion by Meyers, second by Birgen. Council discussion, if any. Hearing none, roll call. Carla.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
On a vote of 6-0 with 1 absent, Resolution 22-73 is approved. Item number 2 is Resolution 22-64, a resolution authorizing an amendment of the terms and conditions of the development agreement with 1859 Ventures, LLC. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 22-64, authorizing an amendment of the terms and conditions of the development agreement with 1859 Ventures, LLC.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Birgen. Council discussion, and for the record, Mr. Nick Graham has joined us this evening in the audience as well.
I think it's always helpful for city staff to take us through these. I think it's confusing, sometimes when we do the abatements or other things. So I think that'd be helpful.
So I tried to do a lot of explanation in the agenda memo because the request is basically to change the 6-year schedule for the development agreement for the rebates, the incremental taxes created by the increase in value. So all of the money that would be rebated would be money that is paid in addition to what the original base taxes would have been paid. So it's a way to use TIF like we usually use TIF, and that's to give a rebate back of what they actually pay, and only when they pay it. So we did a schedule that started with 100% in years 1 and 2, and then went 80, 60, 40, 20. That generated projected rebates around $300,000 to $330,000. And those are going to change because tax rates change, those things, the valuations would change. But we try to do it projected on what we have, like a current valuation and a current tax schedule. The 100% rebate over 6 years for the commercial side of it would just, I guess it's the sliding scale would be about $225,000 or something like that. But the 100% rebate would increase that to $332,517 using the same numbers to compare those. The residential is a sliding scale of 111, and the 100% rebate would be 166 or 167,000. I'll tell you that with the parcel being separated, the two parcels, they're going to be easier to identify then, because it'll clearly be the residential abatement will be on the rear building. They'll have a separate valuation instead of kind of dividing the total valuation. And then the commercial abatement, or the commercial property, will be the pool and the front hotel, and then the rest of the property that, if it ever gets developed around it. We projected a maximum of $500,000 for the cap on what could be rebated. And so using my projections, the new schedule would get it real close to that cap. And so if they reach that cap earlier because of higher valuations, it would just end at that time. And that's how we usually do that situation. So there might be the last year maybe a smaller one than a full rebate. So those are the things that are asked for. I think it's to help with increased costs is what I understand from the developer. Secondly, the jobs requirement. And that was explained to me that the lenders that the developer is working with, now they don't like job requirements because they seem to be those kinds of things that they can use that there's uncertainty, so that they discount that somehow. I haven't heard that directly, but that's what the developer is telling us. In this situation, we had 9 full-time equivalent jobs for a property that's going to be 53 to 58 hotel units, 1 to 2 restaurants, and event space. So I think it's a minimal requirement, and so it probably is not a major problem area in this situation. So that I don't think would concern me as long as the property got developed and got used the way it's supposed to be. So those are the ways that the developer has presented to me, and I just put it together to give it to you based on his request.
Thanks.
I think that eliminating the jobs requirement is not an issue for me, at least, because we had the same issue with the Cobblestone Hotel downtown, where they had a jobs requirement and fairly minimal, 6 or 7, and they were only at 5 full-time or slightly below that. And it just wasn't fair to pull any of their funding because of that small difference. So I can understand where a commercial lender might be concerned that if the job requirement ended up being a half a person or a person less than what the projection would be, they didn't want to see the city pulling the funding from it because of that. So I think that is a reasonable request. And I just want to point out, too, that what we're looking at doing here is a rebate of the additional taxes that they're going to be paid. This is not money that's coming out of the city's current operating budget or anything like that. This is just a rebate to them of the increase in value that we are going to have because of this property being cleaned up and made productive. So I think that's very important for people to remember.
I just have a quick question for Mr. Graham.
Absolutely.
If that's all right.
Come on up, sir.
Just, I think we're all well aware of supply chain problems and inflation and all that kind of stuff. But just for context, so that we can help answer to our constituents, can you give us some concept of what the cost increases beyond budget were?
Initially, which was huge, we felt the water distribution was salvageable, and it became very apparent very quickly it wasn't. Doing the plumbing right was a major cost creep. Another one that was totally, mostly my choice. I had a few disagreements on my end with it, but the hotel's being remodeled under the existing building code. At every junction, which I'm not a building code expert, but it's my understanding that we're required to comply with the way the code was written at the time the facility was constructed. And at every juncture in this project, I've endeavored to go the extra mile and do it right. I don't believe we're required to sprinkle the event center. We're not required to sprinkle the hotel rooms. And I felt if we're going to do this, we're going to do this perfectly, and we're sprinkling all the rooms anyways. And in fact, we're probably going to be done with that this week. And there's just been a lot of items like that where I've really tried to go the extra mile to make this a impeccable grade A development, both for my group and as we're as you're coming into town on Highway 3, and while those things are great, they certainly come at a cost. So the supply chain issues are presented. We're running into construction materials are readily available. We've seen a lot of cost creep in them though, and we're running into a lot of issues procuring heating and cooling equipment for the convention center. The rooms are relatively simple. It's a lot of cosmetic, flooring, and paint are readily available and manufactured domestically, but commercial heating and cooling, you've got a double whammy, as electronics are very difficult to source, and for the duration of the pandemic, nobody was really focusing on large meeting spaces, so from a manufacturer's standpoint, that really wasn't a priority either. So there's been some challenges, but we keep, every day we get closer to the finish line.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything further? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Hearing no further discussion, roll call, Carlin.
Kangas,
Yes.
Meyers,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 22-64 is approved. Item number 3 is Resolution 22-65, a resolution approving the request for proposal, RFP, for development of the former Washington Irving Elementary School site. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 22-65, approving the request for proposal, RFP, for development of the former Washington Irving Elementary School site.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Kangas. Council discussion.
I noticed there were some concerns that planning and zoning had about this RFP. I don't really share them. I think this RFP is written very well. It has everything in it that I would like to see. And if we get proposals back, and the only proposals that are back are for townhouse type developments, so then we know that that is what people would build on it, and that way we can make our decision from that. But I think it's important that we have people that are actually working out in the field, businesses that are developing these things, come to us and say this is what we think will work, rather than the other way around. So I'm very pleased with this, and certainly think that it's worth sending out and see what happens.
I agree, and I appreciate staff's writing it for us.
I think one of the things we need to keep in mind, and it was well stated in the materials here, is that simply approving the RFP does not mean that we have to accept whatever comes in, that there will be another stage at which point we can evaluate what has come in and if it's something we think is good for the community, and I think that's important for the public to remember too. I just had one question that maybe is, I feel like is a stupid one, but I couldn't find the answer. The proposals are due on July 1st, but then also the additional information that was included here about the grants, the deadline for those grant applications is also July 1st? So how does that work?
What we decided to do is, I had highlighted that as being a proposed date, and we're not going to get anybody that's going to be able to put something together before that July 1st. So we're probably going to readjust that time frame. We're going to need to find out how responsive people are to just our inquiries about whether they're interested. And then it may take a couple months to actually get people interested in generating something decent. So we're going to redo the deadline.
Okay.
And find out what the response is from the people we're talking to.
Thank you.
And how are you going to decide who to send it to? We got to advertise this.
We're going to do as much as we can. We know that there's some builders associations. We know people specifically that have done building in our community. We're going to try to reach out as much as possible, at least with an inquiry letter, send out the RFP, ask them if they want to come talk to us. We're not going to tell them. We're going to give them the RFP and then ask them to, if they are interested, and then have discussions and answer questions for them. That's mostly what we'd like to do. And a lot of people will want to know water, sewer, how that's going to work, what kind of access could be provided as far as alleys or private drives or that kind of thing. We just want to have information go out to anybody who's interested.
And I know some discussion came up about perhaps sending it to like Iowa State, to architecture students, urban planning students. I mean, is that possible? Do they do this sort of thing, or would they look at an RFP as a project or not?
I don't think so. That's more of a learning thing. I mean, the developers that are doing these kinds of projects some of them have their own things that they do all the time, and they do them in different places. And it was interesting to go on the internet and look up townhouse plans that you can buy, and there are a lot of companies that do a lot of these types of developments, and the buildings, they'll sell you the blueprints and they'll sell you the things that you can use. So even local developers, if you're just a builder, you could actually use those types of products or talk to folks or hire your own architect to help you with it. And I think there's lots of available options out there right now. It's really mostly looking at the space and seeing what they can do and what it's going to cost them, what they think they can sell it for, which is why we think that the workforce housing credit could be the same next year. And so this may be a year-long process to really shoot for next year on any project, to be quite honest with you, because we're right in the middle of the season. So it may be more that people will be looking for next year. So that's why we kind of took that deadline out. I started with that July back in March when I thought we might be able to get things done and to people quicker. But it's fine. I think they'll do it again next year. And this year they raised the minimum unit value by quite a bit, up to $266. And so next year they may raise it again. And that may be beneficial for us moving forward.
If we were to send it to Iowa State, I'm sure the students could do that job. But when you look at the classes are now over, they've had finals. We're not sure what kind of feedback we can get through the summer. Right. And if they do put a nice package together, they still have to find a developer/builder to now go and take it from them to do it. So I think it'd be a good class option to do, but the timing is not really relevant for us to get something on board for a legitimate project to come forward. But I'm certain they could do it. I like the thought of it, but I think it's the logistics make it difficult.
Well, we definitely chewed this topic up well, and hopefully nobody spit up through the process. We're all still alive. But I do think, staff has a pretty good read now on what planning and zoning is going to say, what the public's going to say, and what the council is going to say. So hopefully we get a good proposal hopefully we get a proposal.
Yes.
And go from
Yeah.
there.
That would be good.
But if not, the land will always be there and it's always buildable. So I do realize it's also maybe not the most ideal time to build as well. So I don't think you'll see piles of proposals, but hopefully we just need one good one.
If it takes a year, it may not be the worst thing to happen.
Yeah,
As it
right.
extends out and takes some time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping, I think, there were some comments in P&Z that I think made sense, that we're just really looking for what's possible. And I think if it'd be great if we could somehow get some sort of smaller, single-family units, but that might not be feasible under these, limits. So I'm hoping we get a variety.
Anything further? Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
On a vote of 6-0 with one absent, Resolution 22-65 is approved. Item number 4 is Resolution 22-66, a resolution approving a 3-year service agreement for the disposal of single-stream recyclables. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of Resolution 22-66, approving a 3-year service agreement with Republic Services of Cedar Rapids, Iowa for the disposal of single-stream recyclables for the processing charge of $110 per net ton and transportation charge of $65 per net ton with a 5% increase annually.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Schneider. Council discussion.
So as I'm looking at this, we're currently paying $124 per net ton, and we will be paying $175 per net ton, but we're anticipating that we will get enough rebates back to make that financially more sound. And I know the number that was in here was $18.16 per net ton when all is said and done. How confident are you in that number?
It's a volatile market, but right now we're pretty confident to get to that 124 with just the cardboard, basically. Plus, it's 28 miles closer right now, and a lot simpler to get to than Charles City. He said they only do an audit every 3 to 6 months is what they estimate. They just recently did one. He said the market looks really good, strong right now. He goes, it's the best he's seen since he's been in the business, and this was the guy from Republic, Joseph.
So 28 miles, we're probably, 5 miles a gallon? If that, lucky, if the wind's pushing us to Charles City. But overall, unless the commodity market just falls apart, I think it's going to be a good thing. Ultimately, I'd like to see us get out of the feeding the plastics industry. There's already too much plastics in that channel, but I think the savings is good, and I commend staff for that.
And just to confirm, this is the same organization that you talked about the last time we heard from you, right? To
Yes.
compare to Gendro?
Yes. The number's a little different than what I talked about then, because this was off an audit they did of a load of material, and then they just averaged it out. And they were very happy with the material that we provided them, actually, so.
Good.
Good clean garbage.
Only 4% residual garbage.
I'm telling you,
Yeah, that's
we
good.
do it well.
There you go.
I did have a question. I didn't see it I was reading the fine print. If we opted to just send everything to the landfill, could we? We're not encumbered to give them our recyclables,
I don't believe
anything
so.
that I can read, right?
No.
So we're safe then? It doesn't look like we can take a lien against our trash, so just so you know.
I don't think so. They'll get what we send them, and if you decide not to do any more, I'm sure there's an out clause that we can get to. If it's a different route you want to go, it's possible.
I know it's annually, but was there a schedule for how long the 5% annual increase would go out for?
He said he would entertain any options for a contract, if that's what you're talking.
I didn't know if there was a sunset on that 5% increase.
He'd do 1 year, he'd do 5 year. I think he wrote it up as 3 year. That's how.
3 was the 1 year option, I think, right?
That's how it was presented. Yeah.
Okay. All right. As you look at, if this goes on for 10 years, it's I know he's got expenses to cover and that kind of stuff, which is trying to amortize that, but
Sure, we'll have to look at it in 3 years.
Yeah.
See where it's at.
sure
Each year, we'll check it and see if the discounts are still what they are, but, dropping from 124 to less than 20, it takes some increases and still be much better off than
Yeah.
we were.
Absolutely.
So I'm comfortable with it, it looks good.
Yeah.
Justin for getting it to us, I think it's going to be well.
And it seemed like the company with what they were doing with the products was a little bit probably more responsible too. For
That
the
I
end
don't
use.
know. I just
I think there was some conversation about that.
They don't send it anywhere other than
Right,
it was, so.
that's what I meant.
Well, we are taking on some risk here, but as long as we monitor it and see how we're doing, if we end up seeing a real issue, we may have to readdress it, but I'll trust your judgment that we're going to
Yeah.
come out okay on this.
I'd say it's a calculated risk.
And yes, and it sometimes is advantageous to take a risk every now and then because there's some significant rewards, and it looks like reducing the cost by as much as this is projected to do, we'll be in good shape, and hopefully at worst, we won't be in any worse shape than we are if we continue their current contracts.
Correct. Okay.
And what's our current cost for landfill?
$42.25.
So we're less than half what it would take to actually landfill it by doing this,
Yeah.
if this holds up. And so that's why it is lucrative to truly have a recycling benefit. It is less than dumping it. Right.
And I would assume that like all of the single stream recycling people, that there are certain types of material that are more valuable than others. Cardboard is probably quite valuable. I think I heard magazines were practically useless.
Yeah, you can see on that sheet when they break it down what actually brought the most value for what we had for tonnage.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do we get any, or could we get any kind of feedback in terms of our cleanliness of the loads, if that's something we need to address, or?
Yeah, and that's something we're going to have to be vigilant on, education with the public, make sure they keep it clean. That's why we are getting those prices, because it was so clean. He actually called me personally and said, he was very surprised after they went through it, so he was not concerned going forward, so.
Might be something we have to address in every communication front we have. And it's just something out of curiosity, if you have a mixed load of recyclables, what's that weigh, like a full truck?
3 to 4 tons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And compared to a garbage truck, a full load of garbage is 79. So that tells you.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your insight. Move forward with the roll call. Carla?
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 22-66 is approved. Item number 5 is Resolution 22-67, a resolution approving a platted survey to create Parcel H located at 2003 East Bremer Avenue, Waverly, Iowa. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 22-67, approving a plat of survey to create Parcel H located at 2003 East Bremer Avenue, Waverly, Iowa, for Mike Baker and Baker Concrete and Excavating.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Birgen. Council discussion.
It doesn't say it on here, but I'm assuming that, and this is probably not even germane to our discussion here, but I'm assuming that these parcels are all zoned as commercial or industrial property. There was a comment in here that was close to some residences, which is why they were putting in the...
Yeah, so they were talking about Baker's talking about storing some of their equipment on one of the properties, and then they were approached by a neighbor. He wasn't so keen on it, so that's why they're splitting basically a buffer that they're just going to keep as trees, and then they'll zone it as properly as they get to that point. So, which I believe that they're kind of sort of starting to move equipment over there, so so this was kind of a first step for them.
Do you know what it's zoned now?
I believe it's zoned A1 right now.
Okay.
So.
It's not zoned residential, obviously.
No, it is not. No, this is something, they were not required to do this. This is them trying to be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
All right. Hearing nothing further, roll call. Carla?
Schneider,
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 22-67 is approved. Item number 6 is Resolution 22-68, a resolution approving a plat of survey to create Parcel N located at 1204 5th Street Northwest in the Green Acres 2nd Edition, Waverly, Iowa.
I will move approval of Resolution 22-68, approving a plat of survey to create Parcel N located at 1204 5th Street Northwest in the Green Acres 2nd Edition, Waverly, Iowa, for Greg Gash.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Kangas. Council discussion.
I did not know we had a development named Green Acres.
It's the place to be.
Farm living is the place to be.
All
Okay,
right.
now for the rest of the meeting. We're going to be humming that.
No more lyrics.
Everyone under 40 doesn't even know what Green Acres is.
Go to 41. Carried.
Maybe just, Isaac, could you sort of take us through this? It's a little bit confusing what he's planning, and there weren't any objections by P&Z, but just
Yeah,
for...
so essentially he owns all of the property. He's moving out of town, so he's looking to sell all of it. And then there's questions about what a potential buyer can and can't do with the lot. So he wanted to tie two of the properties together into the parcel that he's proposed to create. And then he will have a multi-deed lot restriction on the property that has his house and these lots, allowing him, if he wants to put an accessory structure on, because the lot that his house is on is not big enough, and it's kind of placed funny on the cul-de-sac that from a setback wise, you can't really place an accessory structure. But he didn't want to tie all the lots together because the proposed parcel that he's creating, if somebody would want to break the multi-deed lot restriction and put a house on it, they could, because size-wise, they could do that. So basically, he wants to keep it open for future people if they want to build a house, but he also wants to allow a potential buyer to build a garage or a shed or something on the lot, so.
Thank you.
Anything further? Hearing none. Roll call, Carla.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 22-68 is approved. Item number 7 is Resolution 22-69, a resolution approving the final plat for Anna Estates First Edition. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 22-69, approving the final plat for Anna Estates First Edition for Bartles Lutheran Home.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Birgen. Council discussion.
I just wanted to state that Paula Geist contacted me, and she was planning to be here in case people had questions, but she's not feeling well, so.
Thank you. Anything further?
Did staff have any comments they wanted to make or any concerns about the? Okay.
All right. Roll call, Carla.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 22-69 is approved. Item number 8, Resolution 22-70, resolution approving the development agreement, construction plans, and construction and maintenance guarantees for the Anna Estates First Edition. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 22-70, approving the development agreement, construction plans, and construction and maintenance guarantees for the Anna Estates First Edition.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Meyers. Council discussion. Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 and one absent. Resolution 22-70 is approved. Item number 9, Resolution 22-71, a resolution approving the construction plans and construction and maintenance guarantees for the Waverly Shell Rock Northeast Elementary School. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 22-71, approving the construction plans and construction and maintenance guarantees for the Waverly Shell Rock Northeast Elementary School.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Rathe. Council discussion.
There was some discussion in the material about whether the school should be required to provide the performance bond, or if it was acceptable to have each of the separate contractors provide a performance bond. Is there a recommendation as to what route the city staff would like us to see that being done?
I mean, we were fine either way. We just want to make sure there's some coverage. It's kind of a different situation because you don't really have a true general contractor which is taking this over. They have a construction company helping to manage the project itself, but in essence, really the school, I guess I would say, is the general. And so the hardest part is the contracts are with the school, not with us, and it just becomes very murky. And so if we're able to at least have guarantees, performance bonds for the contractors doing the work that we also then are able to enforce, that's probably as good as we're going to get, other than having the school itself then go and get bonds for us to do it. But it is difficult when it's this kind of a situation where there isn't a true general stated. They're kind of doing their own. They have a company sort of helping. It's one of the weird ones we've had. We haven't really had one of these like this. So, and you're not exactly building schools every day, so it's a little bit of a kind of a one-off that we're trying to just work through the best we can and be responsible to school, be it keep ourselves covered reasonably.
Well, my preference would be to have as little red tape as possible that we impose on the school. And if you're satisfied that we're fairly well covered here, I don't have a problem with it.
Good.
So I will admit I'm horrible at reading these diagrams. I'm trying to figure out, is there sidewalk connectivity to the school? Because I'm seeing references to sidewalk, but I'm not really seeing where it is. I just feel like there needs to be some kind of access for kids walking to school. I mean, I think that we have countless conversations about the lack of sidewalks around the high school. We had the child who was hit by a car on 4th Street. It seems like we need to be proactive when it comes to how kids are getting to school. And I'm just not really seeing where in this diagram the sidewalk access is.
Well, I'm not sure where the sidewalk would go. I mean, right at this point, because there are no housing developments right around this site, correct, at this point?
So what we talked to them about is the fact that if we had a sidewalk coming up Horton Road, or if we had a sidewalk coming up 5th, which doesn't go through, and that could be a trail section that we do because we own the right-of-way all the way up to that new street. When that happens, they would put the sidewalk in so that there would be access to the school. As long as there's no way to get to that sidewalk at this point, they're not doing that at this point.
Is
They're
that
great for it, though.
is that written down somewhere?
That's part of
For
the
future.
Yeah, right. I mean, I feel like that these things where they agree to do it, and then in 20 years, when the time finally comes, nobody remembers the agreement. Is that in writing anywhere?
We don't have it specifically in writing, but we can assess for it.
I mean, they are going to grade where the sidewalk will go. So
Yes.
as soon as we get our sidewalk there, they'll add theirs on.
Yes.
We didn't see the need to put a sidewalk stretch absolutely going to nowhere, just stick the concrete in because it's not really beneficial.
Okay.
But our full intent is to have that done. They are aware of that. We've had multiple discussions about it. We're having a nice public discussion about it right here. It's on record. That is our intent, our goal, our wish that it will happen, and we will enforce it by assessment if need be.
I appreciate you saying that it can be graded for that, because I know like part of the issue with, is it Sunset Avenue or one of those avenues by the high school is there's no space to put a sidewalk in because there's so many trees in the way. Right. So the fact that there is a space that's being reserved for sidewalk gives me some comfort.
Right.
So if there are problems, since there isn't a formal general contractor, then you'll be negotiating with whichever construction company the problem's with, or you negotiate with the school board? If there are problems, how does that
The maintenance, you're talking about the maintenance bond? Because the
I'm talking about
performance
during
bond-
construction, if something happens,
This is a dual performance bond, so their performance bond is actually to the school, and if the school fails to enforce that, then the city can enforce it. So we're just second step on that one. On the maintenance bond, we would be going directly against the contractors. And of course, we work with Wicks and Baker a lot, and
right,
so we're
right.
pretty comfortable with that in this situation.
It's that risk thing we were talking about a little earlier. I mean, it's that uncharted territory. We've never had schools built in many of our tenures here to where we're dealing with this, especially in such a raw, open area. It's not next to a subdivision. It's not next to, it's foreign area out there. So we're trying to make the connections we can, like I said, be reasonable to school, but yet still fall within what we need to have happen. And we have give and take, and it's been a long process, and this is, I think, the best we can produce right now to get this done.
Do we know why it's being approached this way with the school basically functioning as a GC?
I don't know. That was their choice in how they bid the project and who they hired to help facilitate this. I don't know why they did that.
All right. Hearing nothing further, roll call, Carla.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 and 1 absent. Resolution 22-71 is approved. Item number 10 is Resolution 22-72, a resolution approving the bid, contract, and certificate of insurance for the construction of privacy fence at Cedar River Park and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 22-72, approving the bid, contract, and certificate of insurance from D&N Fence of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in the amount of $45,467 for the construction of privacy fence at Cedar River Park and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Kangas. Council discussion.
So my main question was about, I guess I'll direct it to Garrett. I know from going to the town hall meeting about it, talking to the neighbors who are going to live along the fence, there were concerns about whether the little privacy strips would start coming out and flapping in the wind and look neglected and ugly. And I'm just wondering, concerns about that? Have you run this by the neighborhood? What's your?
Right, there really shouldn't be any concern about the privacy slats, coming out. If anything, they'll fade, I mean, things happen, then we'll repair them if they do come out, but nothing out of the ordinary should, make them flap in the wind or come out like that. It's very similar to what we have along 4th Street for the golf course. And I mean, other than the bottom breaking loose one time and we had to fix that, we haven't had any other issues with that.
Okay.
And they do get hit. Sometimes you hit them really hard. They hold up.
They hold up well.
So
Okay.
it does happen.
That one's a solid
So I've
screen there, though. Or no, that one is slatted. It was the fence that had come loose. It wasn't even the slats, it was the fence itself.
Correct,
So,
the fence itself was loose.
yeah.
Do they rate that vinyl for any amount of time that you've seen? I mean, I imagine that plastic gets brittle after so long and you hit a ball hitting it and it would crack.
It does, but I mean, where that's going to be, there shouldn't be baseballs hitting and cracking, not in that area.
Sign that kid up.
Well, not that way.
I think the concern would be more about kids warming up and, stuff like that, throwing before games, but with the trail there and everything, it's not going to be where they're going to be warming up, hitting the fence with Aaron
Because this is the fence between the houses and
Right
the
on the west side.
and the trail, right?
Correct, yep,
Okay.
almost right along the bike trail
Yep,
that goes through
yep.
there.
And are they guaranteeing their price for more than 5 days, since they gave it to us on the 4th?
They're guaranteeing their price for more than 5 days.
Okay.
If it passes tonight, they actually plan on starting on Wednesday on it.
Good.
The nice thing about a fence like this is that it's relatively low maintenance. If it were a wooden fence or a
Correct.
picket fence or something, we'd have to be out there painting it and staining it and all of that kind of stuff every year. So this pretty much is maintenance-free unless somebody beats at it with a baseball bat or something.
Exactly. Yep.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Hearing nothing further, roll call, Carla.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 and 1 absent. Resolution 22-72 is approved. Item 11 is the third and final reading of Ordinance 1101, an ordinance amending the City Code of Ordinances of Waverly, Iowa by repealing Chapter 64, thereof entitled Weeds, and enacting and adopting new Chapter 64 Weeds. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the third and final reading of Ordinance 1101, ordinance amending the City Code of Ordinances of Waverly, Iowa by repealing Chapter 64 thereof entitled Weeds and enacting and adopting a new Chapter 64 Weeds.
Second.
Motion by Schneider, second by Rathe. Council discussion, if any? Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Schneider.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 with one absent. The third and final reading of Ordinance 1101 is approved. Item number 12 is the third and final reading of Ordinance 1102, an ordinance amending Chapter 72, Urban Chickens of the Waverly Municipal Code by amending Section 72.3. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of the third and final reading of Ordinance 1102, an ordinance amending Chapter 72, Urban Chickens of the Waverly Municipal Code by amending Section 72.3.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Meyers. Council discussion. While we're on the farm theme this evening.
It just makes me sad we'll never get to hear the phrase
I
urban
know.
chickens again. Yeah.
I know. It's fun to say.
There is a way, but I'm not going to bring it up tonight. Right, James?
That's correct, Mayor.
Hearing no further useful discussion, roll call, Carla.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 with one absent. Third and final reading of Ordinance 1102 is approved. Item number 13, third and final reading of Ordinance 1103, an ordinance amending Chapter 100, zoning of the Waverly Municipal Code by amending Section 100.7.03 and 100.8.03. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of the third and final reading of Ordinance 1103, an ordinance amending Chapter 100 zoning of the Waverly Municipal Code by amending Section 100.7.03 and 100.8.03.
Second.
Motion by Schneider, second by Birgen. Council discussion. Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 and one absent. The third and final reading of Ordinance 1103 is approved. Item number 4 is the second reading of Ordinance 1104, an ordinance amending Chapter 44, Planning and Zoning Commission of the Waverly Municipal Code by amending Section 44.1. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of the second reading of Ordinance 1104, an ordinance amending Chapter 44, Planning and Zoning Commission of the Waverly Municipal Code by amending Section 44.1.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Schneider. Council discussion.
Less is more.
Good.
Less is more.
All right. Hearing no further comments, roll call, Carla.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 and one absent. The second reading of Ordinance 1104 is approved. Item 15 is the first reading of Ordinance 1105, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the City of Waverly for multiple properties to reflect the current use of the properties and setting a public hearing. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the first reading of Ordinance 1105, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the City of Waverly for multiple properties to reflect the current use of the properties and setting June 6, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall as the date, time, and place for a public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Meyers, second by Rathe. Council discussion.
So this looks very similar to some other rezoning we've done with the dry run, et cetera, and then I noticed that the water works building is in there.
All right, hearing nothing further, roll call, Carla.
Myers.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 with one absent. The first reading of Ordinance 1105 is approved. Item 16 is approval of the mayoral appointments. I'll read through these. Michael Krukel is replacing Greg Gash on the Board of Adjustments for a term expiring May 1st of 2026. Connie Miller is replacing Linda Brandt on the Board of Adjustments for a term expiring May 1st, 2027. Mary Yang is replacing Glenn Fenneman on the Historic Preservation Commission for a term expiring June 30th of 2025. These replacements or new people are all, it's not a replacement by my volition. They're not seeking reinstatement. So just to clear that up. So entertain a motion to approve those mayoral appointments.
Move approval of mayoral appointments as read by the mayor.
Second.
Motion by Kangas, second by Birgen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Section K, reports from boards and commissions. Item number 1 is the Bremer Waverly Law Board minutes of April 11th, 2022. Item 2 is the monthly financials from March 2022. And number 3 is the senior calendar for May of 2022, all received into the record. Mr. Bronner, Section L with staff updates, please.
We have at least 2 or 3 tonight, sir.
Perfect, thank you.
We'll start with this.
I'd like to invite everyone for Public Services Center open house this Thursday from 4 to 6:30 p.m. We're going to have cookies and coffee and doing tours. Have all the equipment out, everyone can see it and walk around, and some kids can even look in it, and yeah, like that stuff.
Do you want us to, where do we go in, like where the flags are, the main entrance?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The building, the entire building will be open, but we're going to try to route everyone in through that way. So.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Garrett has some as well, sir.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we've had a couple busy weeks. So I just wanted to thank the volunteers who came out and helped with our tree planting. We had a lot of volunteers, a lot of Trees Forever folks. The middle schoolers were great. We got about 100 trees in the ground. And so far, so good. We'll see how many of them make it. But yeah, thank you to all the volunteers and Trees Forever who helped out with that. Community garden planting was this last Saturday. Again, thank you to the volunteers. If we don't end up with very much cabbage, you can blame myself and Ann. That's what we got tasked with planting to begin with. But again, very successful. The 3rd Street Bridge Memorial was also this last weekend. I didn't get an exact count, but probably 50 to 60 people showed up for that. So a nice turnout there. And, you know, everyone got a chance who wanted to look through the stereoscope. So if you haven't been down there, get down there and check it out. Also this last Saturday, volunteers and some staff worked on getting South Riverside Plaza seeded and getting all the woody plants planted as well. So we're still waiting on the perennial flowers to come in, but we got the rest of it all seeded. So that project's getting close to wrapping up. Boy, I felt like I had one other thing here. Oh, 2 other things, sorry. Art Walk. Very successful again this year. Tons and tons of people from just before 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock. I mean, basically shoulder to shoulder walking through. It was a great turnout. So thanks again to everyone who came out for that. And then finally, there is water in the pool. So we are planning on opening Memorial Day weekend. That's assuming that we have staff that Saturday and Sunday. It's really busy with graduation receptions, all that stuff, so we're hoping to have staff to open that weekend. If not, we'll push it till Memorial Day. So, thanks guys.
Thank you.
And then Carl has an update as well, sir.
Perfect.
So, Human Equity and Diversity Commission's been pretty busy. Thursday, June 9th at 6:30, we are going to be at the library. We're partnering with the library with a youth night, and we're going to be doing some tie-dyeing, read a story, and then we're going to do a little pride march through the Butterfly Garden since June is Pride Month. On the 13th, we will be at concerts in Coleman, And we're going to do sidewalk chalk and bubbles for the kids, and also have an information table set up, and hopefully that just start educating people and whatnot. So both events start at 6:30. Of course, the library one will be at the library, and the concerts in Coleman will be over there. Should be fun. We'll see.
What's the date on the concert?
June 13th, sorry.
And that's the first of the concerts in Coleman series? Is that correct?
It's the first or second? I think it's the second.
Okay.
I think the 6th is the first.
Is that a Thursday?
It's a Monday.
I think June 9th.
Oh, sorry, I've got them switched around, yeah.
Okay.
June 9th is
Is
At the
the,
library.
concerts in Coleman, and June 13th is at the library.
Gotcha.
Okay.
My
Okay,
apologies.
thanks.
Okay,
I think it's all we have tonight, sir.
perfect. Excellent. So yeah, that would be the first of the concerts in Coleman with the chamber. All right. Mr. Birgen.
Well, we have an executive session, so I won't be hitting the bar, so I've got nothing to give you.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Rathe.
I'll just segue off of what Garrett said and invite people out to the garden. You do not have to know how to garden, trust me. They allow me to help, and I don't know anything, except now I know how to plant cabbage. So Tuesday evenings from 6 to 8, and then Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. I think there's probably still planting to do, isn't there, Garrett? Did you get it all done?
There will be
Saturday.
planting on this Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yes.
tomorrow night. So thanks.
Excellent. Ms. Meyers.
Nothing for me.
Mr. Schneider. Mr. Drenkow.
Oh, I just want to give a shout out to the Historic Preservation Commission. It was a great turnout Saturday. They did some great work there on memorializing the Green Bridge. If people get a chance to go there, you should go there. There's a couple of signs that explain the history and some of the things that went into the decision-making about the Green Bridge, and how it was first built, how much it cost, when it was painted green, and all that kind of thing. And then the binoculars are really impressive. You get a chance to go up there and crank the handle and see the pictures, and I think it's a wonderful thing. So I've seen a lot of people stop there as they're walking through the path to take a look at it. So I encourage anybody that's walking through South Riverside Park to take a look at that. And then also the shelter house and the scale building area is really shaping up. It looks fantastic. Once the grass is sprouted and the trees come out and everything else, it's going to be a great place. So I'd really encourage people on nice days like this, you're out for a walk, head over to the river and take a walk, get to Bremer Avenue and take depending on which direction you're coming from, go south and see what we got going there, because we've done some, I think that South Riverside Park is really shaping up as a real gem here in the city. So my congratulations to the Leisure Services Division and Garrett also for spearheading those projects.
Well, and I just want to add that, staff was out in force to help plant trees, whether it was Danielle from HR, James helped, other staff, Shane was out there. And then Saturday, staff were really working all day, whether it was at the garden or down at that park. So the parks really look pretty right now, especially walking through Coleman. The trees are beautiful, so take advantage of it.
Yep. Ms. Hannah.
Nothing for me.
All right. Mr. Kangas.
I just, this week is National Police Officer Appreciation Week, so I wanted to extend my appreciation to the police department, to Chief Purcell and the police department. I don't want to speak for the entire council on that, but I don't think they're going to disagree with me on that. We have a tremendous force that looks out for the safety and concerns of our citizens, and we do really appreciate you, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
That's it? All right. I echo those same comments, and not to piggyback off of their status, but EMS week this week as well, so our ambulance providers. I had just a couple notes here, piggybacking off of stuff going on down in the Exchange Park in that area with the farmers market. 2 weeks in a row, I've been really impressed with the turnout of vendors and the products, so make sure you get down and check that out. especially with costs of products and that kind of stuff. It's a great avenue to get out there. We're going to see our boys high school rugby team here in the council chambers with their state championship victory this past week. There was a comment or a question about community garage sales coming up. It's slated for June 10th through the 12th, that particular weekend. So just put that on the radar there. It's a little bit more than the weekend. And with that, we talk about all the wonderful things and wonderful places that we have and that kind of thing. And some of the conversation in the community has been just random trash here, there, everywhere. And as we get closer to our community events, such as the county fair, and we talk about Heritage Days, it's right around the corner. Trust me, we want our community to be pristine as possible. So taking care of trash as we see it and addressing it now rather than trying to address all of it right before those events will make that period of time a lot less bothersome for city staff and others that want those open spaces and public places to look nice. So with that, I will seek a motion to enter into executive session. Number one, to discuss the purchase of sale of particular real estate, only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the governmental body would have to pay for that property or reduce the price the governmental body would receive for that property. Entertain a motion.
I'll move that the council enter into executive session.
Second?
Motion by Drenkow, second by Birgen. Roll call, Carla.
Rathe?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Birgen?
Yes.
Drenkow?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 with one absent. We will enter into executive session once you're clear. Thank you.
When we come out, we will be acting